Hello, my dear pearls. How are you? I hope you had a great weekend. I had an amazing weekend, very busy one. My weekends have become very busy lately, and I know why. I'll tell you why, by the way, at the end of this live. Today, we're going to be together for 45, between 45 and minutes and 1 hour. So I hope that you will enjoy today's content, and I hope that you will like what I'm going to be sharing. And I want you to stick to the end if you have the time, so that you can hear the invitation that I have for you at the end of this live. And today's topic is a topic that is really very close to my heart because, first of all, it's very personal, to me at least. And I have struggled with this for so long. And that topic is basically repeating the same mistakes over and over again in my life, in everything, but mainly in my relationships. So this is why it's really very personal. I'm going to be sharing some personal stories, and I'm going to be sharing with you what I did and what I figured out, or what I found out about what I was doing and why I was repeating all those mistakes over and over again. So, and I hope you stick with me to the end, because I have an invitation for you at the end of this live. So stay tuned and let's start. So basically, my story is, since I was like maybe 18, when I started having somehow relationships. And it was always a very tricky situation when it came to relationships. At the very beginning, because I was living in a very closed up society, so relationships were really very hush hush. So, and it couldn't be something that we talk about, and at least in the society where I lived. So it was always something that I had to hide. It wasn't something I could talk about, or I could, except to obviously the close friends that I had at the time. So being there, and it was always kind of a taboo, something developed in me that I didn't really understand until later on in my life, which is that shame that we have, us as women at least, when we are born in a society that's really closed up, and when we don't really have that power or that say to talk or to have an opinion about something, especially with our parents, starting with our parents, and then obviously with the rest of the community, but mainly with our parents. So that on its own was a major block for me in my relationships, because of that shame that I've developed throughout the years. And later on, that shame became something else, became a different kind of pattern that I was living throughout all my relationships. The minute I started, sorry for that. The minute I started, becoming more aware of my relationships and how my relationships are, and I noticed that all the time, I was doing the same thing over and over again, by how my relationship started, how my relationship developed, and how my relationships ended. And that pattern was always the same. So I would start a relationship in a very, how to put it, in a very fast way, to say the least. So basically, it develops from a date to a relationship, like that, So it shifts. And all my relationships have started like this, and it's for me to realize that after so long, it was such an eye-opener, because now I understand why things were happening the way they were happening in my relationships. So basically, they were starting so fast, and anything that starts so fast will probably end so fast as well. And this applies not only to women, it also applies to men. So when there is something that is starting so fast, it means that there is no real base for this, or no real roots for this relationship. No matter what the relationship is, by the way, whether it's a romantic relationship or even a friendship, anything that starts and like develops and like so fast, and I've been through these kind of friendships as well, that will end up in a very drastic way, by the way, very bad, because the foundation of that relationship was not there. It did not even exist. And I didn't even realize that I was doing it. So I was always repeating the same mistake over and over again in my relationships. Some of them, my friendships and my relationships with men, they were starting so fast with no foundation whatsoever. Then we go through a certain period of time. Most of the time, it's a long period, like it could last for 8 months and then it would be over. But during those 8 months, there was a pattern that I was living. That's when it comes to relationship with men. So this pattern that I was living, I was falling every single time in the same trap. I was doing every single time the same thing over and over again. And when I talk about doing the same thing and repeating the same mistakes, I'm not talking about something simple. I'm not talking about saying the wrong word or doing the wrong action. No, I'm talking about a whole kind of act, or a whole kind of what's the word I'm looking for? A whole kind of actions and reactions during the relationship. So I was doing the same thing, and what was that thing? So basically, I would start the relationship would start on its own so fast. Like, I wouldn't even give the guy a chance to ask me to be in a relationship. It was this fast. And maybe this is the first time I ever share this. And I tell you guys, this is very personal to me. So I hope you appreciate that I'm sharing this with you. So I would really start a relationship, and all of a sudden it becomes a relationship without even that person asking for it to be a relationship, or without me asking for it to be a relationship. It would just become that from the way I would act. And obviously, I mean, I'm not alone in the relationship, right? There's another partner in that relationship. I'm not doing this on my own. So that person has somehow also a part in this. But I mean, I cannot fix that person. Too late now anyway, but at least I could work on myself. And this is exactly what I did when I started realizing that I was doing these mistakes. So first, the relationship starts out of nowhere, God knows. And then the pattern would be that I would fall like madly for that person, and I would become, I wouldn't say possessive, but I would become motherly, which is worse. I mean, I wish I had been possessive. I would become motherly. I would become someone who is so caring and so attentive and so, like, overbearing, if I can use that term, to the person who is with me. And then that person would start feeling like, okay, but this is not what I want in my life. I mean, no man wants to be in a relationship with his mother, or a mother lookalike, because that's what I was doing. I was acting like a mother to him. And also, no woman would want to be in a relationship where she feels like she is in a relationship with her father or with a father figure. Because I also passed through that as well. I was in one of my relationships which lasted for like 5 years. 5 years of my life I was in that relationship until one day something happened and I woke up and I was like, I actually even called my sister and I told her, this is over. I feel like I'm going out with my dad. You know? So, and now when I'm saying it, I'm thinking, oh my God, these men, when I was in this relationship with them and I was mothering them, how bad they must have felt and how weird they must have felt. And no wonder why those relationships had to end. No wonder. Of course they had to end. Because again, I wouldn't want to be in a relationship with someone who is exactly like my dad and acting as a dad. And nobody would want to be with me if I'm acting in this relationship literally as his mother. So coming from that and then understanding that this is what was happening, this was for me, like really, I had no idea. I had no clue that this is what I was doing. And then after that, the reason why I actually started asking, or the reason why I started wanting to understand why this was happening to me and why I was doing this, I was going through the same pattern over and over and over again, is because I started asking myself. And I started saying, why is this happening to me? Why is it always the same thing? Why do I always go through my relationships in the same way? They start in the same way. They become that same pattern throughout the relationship, and then they end in the same way. Either they could end on friendly terms. I'm not saying that they all ended on bad terms, but the fact is that they ended. This is the real fact here. So they ended because the reason was that I was mothering. So when I started asking myself these questions, then another pattern started. And that pattern was also destructive to me later on, because I couldn't build a certain trust, or I couldn't build a certain desire, or the way I desired the relationship to be. I couldn't build that. Why? Because I was always thinking, when I started asking myself these questions, I was always thinking that, of course, I'm not going to be in a relationship because it will never work. Of course, I'm not supposed to be happy. Of course, this is not for me. And why is this happening to me? Maybe I don't deserve happiness. Maybe I don't deserve to be with anyone. Maybe I don't deserve joy. Maybe I don't deserve true friends, because this was also happening with some of my friends. Not too many, but it did happen with friends as well, because also I was very caring and overbearing and so protective, to the point of acting like a mother. And even friends don't want to be friends with their own mother, because they want to be able to do the things with their friends that they don't actually do with their mothers, right? So when I started doing this, what is it that I was actually doing? I was literally ending my relationships even before they started, because I was already saying that this is not going to work. I was already saying that I don't deserve love. Cancel that, because I do deserve love. Everybody deserves love. And I was already judging that relationship. I was already judging myself in that relationship. I was already judging that person in that relationship. So when I figured that out, it was also another, Eureka moment. Wow, I found it. I understand now why nothing is really happening for me. And nothing is really happening for me because I was already sabotaging all my relationships, because I was doing this. And I was putting myself in that shoe even before getting to the beginning of the relationship. And then when it would start, it would be again that same pattern, because at that time I didn't know that I was doing that, right? When I figured it out, I started working on myself, and I did so much work on myself to understand why I was doing this. And it all goes back to the topic that I always talk about, which is having those limiting beliefs that we have, that develop in us, that we have been conditioned with throughout our lives. And shame was one of them. The fear of failing was another one that was really, really very repetitive. I would fear of failing, and I would actually fail, because again, the thing that you keep on thinking about will happen. This is how it works. Think about it. If you always think about the same thing, or you always believe the same thing, this is what's going to happen. This is what's going to happen for you in your life, because there's nothing else that you are seeing. That's the only thing that you are seeing. I like to compare it to, for example, when you feel like when you want to buy a new car, and you are thinking, oh, I want to buy this new car, and you know exactly what model of car you want. The minute you are outside, that's the only car that you see on the street. Do this exercise with yourself. Think of something that you really want, and then the minute that every time you think about it, like you kind of not see anything else in front of you, because this is where your mind is focused, and this is where your mind is going. So if my mind is telling me that I'm going to be failing in that relationship, I'm definitely going to fail. If my mind is telling me that what I'm doing is shameful, I'm going to always be living in shame. If my mind is telling me that I should not be talking about this to anyone, and that also comes from being afraid or being worried about being judged or feeling shame, that's exactly what's going to happen. I'm going to be judged, because that's the only thing I'm going to see. And I'm going to feel shame, because that's the only thing I'm focused on. And trust me, if we ask people around us, they have a completely different view of what is going on with us, because they are seeing it from a different perspective, and they're not looking at it from the judgmental eye that we are looking at it from, because this is what we are going through. And this is why most of the time when we sit with our friends and we talk, we see the way they see things for us is always different from what we are going through or what we are feeling ourselves. It even happens to me. I'm like, when my friends come to me and we talk, the way I see their issues is completely different than the way they see them. And this is why sometimes we go to these people, to our friends, to talk, because we know that they're going to be very objective, because they are looking at it from a different perspective. When we are looking at our situations, we're always looking at them from that personal place. And that personal place is filled with limiting beliefs. It is filled with so many restrictions that we have gone through, that we have been conditioned throughout all our lives. And that's why we cannot see things the way they really are. Now, what happens is that when you figure things out, or when you start realizing that this is what's happening, that bulb that lights up in your mind makes you want to understand and makes you want to fix things. Because nobody wants to be living, either in a bad relationship or in no relationship at all, like alone, or in a toxic relationship, because some of my relationships were also toxic because of the way they were handled from my side and from my partner's side. So when you start figuring this out, and when you start realizing that you know, it's not about you being the victim, it's about you understanding your pattern and why you are doing this. And before you start understanding that, you are always acting like a victim. That's a point I'm going to talk about later. But when you start asking these questions, then you start looking at the reasons why you are doing all of this. And we go back to your limiting beliefs. You start figuring things out. What are the beliefs that are limiting you? In my case, it was the shame. It was the fear of failing. So I was putting failing as a result already. I was already predicting my failure even before anything started. And this is self-sabotage. And fear causes that. Fear causes people, you and me, to sabotage anything. Not only relationships. We could be even sabotaging work. We could be even sabotaging our own success because we are afraid. So that fear is also something that I really worked on it so hard. But the best thing about me figuring this out is me really understanding what it is that actually, for me, what it is, and it should be for anyone, as a matter of fact, I really truly believe that, what it is that is the most important in my life for me to understand love, actually, and for me to understand what true happiness is, or what true love is, other than the unconditional love that a mother has for her child or a father has for his child. I'm talking about like the, not romantic even love. I'm talking about love between human beings, normal human beings, people that are not really like directly related to you, even your brothers and sisters and your like close family, that love as well. So what I realized actually is that when we look at love from a codependency perspective, and what do I mean by that? From a codependency perspective, I mean when we look at love, that we need to have another person for us to be in love, or for us to feel love, or for us to be happy. That codependency, the minute we make it not a reason, the minute we make it the, what's the word, Maysoon? Help. The minute we make it the condition for us to be happy is having another party, an outside or an outsider to us, then we are already dooming that, whatever it is, to failure. We're already bringing that relationship, or that even if it's a project, even if it's anything, the minute we think that we need another party or we need validation, this is when we start already putting ourselves in a situation where we are possibly going to fail. So what I realized is I don't need anyone to feel love. I don't need anyone to be happy, because I need to start, or I don't like saying need, I want to start by me. am, and I always say it because I'm the one who leads her life. No one is leading my life from outside. I'm the one leading my life. I'm the one taking those decisions. I'm the one moving from point A to point B because I want to move from point A to point B. Not because it was imposed on me. People like to think that things are imposed on them. I truly and honestly don't believe that anything can be imposed on us unless we let it. You can have things imposed on you because you let them be imposed on you. When we are managing and leading our own lives in the right way, as the boss, because we are the boss of our own lives, nothing can be imposed on us. And love will start from us. We don't need anyone outside of us to make us feel that love. So today, for me, I feel love every single day because I love what I've done, because I appreciate what I did for myself, because I feel grateful that I actually woke up and saw really how things were and really understood why I was doing this and fixing that. And because I was able to fix that, which are my limiting beliefs, and understanding the whole process and figuring things out and figuring what is the main limiting belief that was making me do this over and over and over again. And I'll tell you what it is. It's because I didn't want to be my parents. Because my parents' relationship was a toxic relationship throughout. And that was the one thing that I did not want in my life. So I was sabotaging my own relationships because I was worried and I was afraid that my relationships are going to end up like my parents' relationship. So every time things would start to be like maybe a little bit serious or maybe a little bit, more romantic or a little bit more intense, I would find a way to break things or to put, hurdles in my own way, just because I was afraid and because I really didn't want to be my parents again in their relationship. So in my relationships, I didn't want that. And that was the main reason, the one at the bottom of all other beliefs, that I didn't want to be my parents, neither my mom nor my dad, on any level, especially in their relationship. So I was doing that to myself. When I realized that and I started really looking at myself from my own perspective, with my own loving eyes, instead of loving that person and being overbearing to that person and being overprotective to that person, I started being overprotective of myself so that I wouldn't get hurt, so that I know really that I don't need anyone outside of me to make me feel loved. I'm the only one who can make me feel loved. And so are you, by the way. You are the only one who can make yourself feel loved. And you are the only one who can bring happiness to you. It is not subjected to anyone else outside of you. It is within you. All you need to do is figure it out, and you will figure it out, I promise. Because we all go through patterns in our lives. We all go through ups and downs. Our life is a journey of mistakes. It's a journey of learning. So, if you don't do those mistakes, you will never learn. Nobody learns just like that. You have to go through those mistakes so that you can learn. And when you go through those mistakes, you will learn from them. And the minute you learn, you start realizing that this is in your power. This is something that you can fix. It's not something that is not fixable. I promise you. Everything is fixable. Marie Forleo says everything is figure outable. I say everything is fixable. So today I want to remind you that this is real. Your love for yourself is more important than anything else. And the minute you realize that, everything else will start making sense. Everything else will start becoming easier for you, because you are already coming from that love perspective, from that love feeling. And you start looking at things in a different way. You will see things with the eyes of love. And you won't, like, really, I promise you, at least personally, this is what happened with me, nothing puts me down anymore. Nothing makes me feel bad anymore. Nothing makes me feel sorrowful anymore, because I am starting my own life, my own journey, my own every single morning. I'm starting my day with love for me. And that love for me, by the way, it becomes contagious. Everybody will feel it. I see, Marie, okay, I see that you're saying something. Let's see. Totally resonate. Parents do teach us a lot about our values. That's so true. Barriers and triggers, 100%. Exactly. Coming to your self-love is the most important thing. And doing that internal journey, I call it, like that internal discovery, understanding what are the things that we want for ourselves before anything else. Because we have been conditioned to want the things that others want for us. We have been conditioned to listen to what society tells us to do. This is where our group consciousness limiting beliefs come from, because this society is telling us it has to be 1, 2, 3. Yes, exactly, Marie. We're not broken. Definitely we're not broken. Everything is fixable, because 100% we're not broken. And people just don't realize that they're not broken. People want to be aware. And this is the second point I want to talk about, is that awareness. The minute you become aware of your pattern, the minute you become aware of what's happening, then you start thinking, oh my God, my awareness, first of all, it wakes you up. It makes you want to do things, want to fix things for yourself. It makes you want to make things better for you before anything else. Because again, you're the hero of your own story. Oh my God, I have this on my I have this on my shirt. I'm the hero of this story, and this story is my life. I mean, it won't show properly on the camera because it needs to be mirrored. But this is, my t-shirt says, I am the author. I'm the author of this story. So you are the author of your own life. And when you remember that, because we all know that, by the way, we just tend to forget it because of all the conditioning that we go through, because of all the pressure that we have from the society or from people around us, or from our family, our friends, our beloved, everyone around us. We feel that we have to please them. We feel that we want to be their support system. We want to be there for them. But then, before we can be there for anyone, we want to be there for ourselves. We want to make sure that we are good to us. We are in love with us. We are happy with us. We love our own company before loving other people's company. Or before wanting to support anyone else, we want to be able to support ourselves. We want to be able to understand what's happening with us. You know, it's like we have a saying in Arabic It says the door of a carpenter is like loose, you know. So the carpenter who fixes the doors for everyone cannot have his own door loose. So when we are in a position where people come to us, like our friends, for example, to ask for advice, we want to be able to give that advice with a very, very assertive, way, in a very assertive way. But if we ourselves are not aware of where we are, if we are not aware that love comes from within, and appreciation comes from within, and validation comes from within, I validate my own self. I don't need anyone to validate me. I love me before anyone can love me. Because when I love me, everyone will love me. And it's true. It's true. It will be very difficult for people, because when you come from love, your eyes will be shining, your face will be like so bright. And even the person who is like probably the angriest person or the saddest person, when they feel this, they will get that energy. They will feel that energy and they will feed on that energy. Try it. Just try it. Start with your own love. Discover it, because we all have it. A lot of us have been lost along the way. And by lost, I don't mean that it's a hopeless case. I mean lost, literally lost. We can't find our way. And hopefully, maybe with this today, I'm helping you to actually redirect and figure your way out again. Find it again, because it's there. And if you dig deep inside, you will find it. You will figure it out, just like I did, just like a lot of people did. I'm not the only one who discovered that, you should start with loving yourself. I'm definitely not the only one. And I'm not the first. I'm not going to be the last. We just need to remember. We just need to remember that this is where the first unconditional love comes from, is from within. And it's an unconditional love to yourself before anyone else. And then this unconditional love, when you start feeling it with you, you can give it to anyone. And it doesn't have to be in a form of a romantic relationship. You can give it to anyone around you. Because for me, this is what will heal the whole world. Love is what will heal the whole planet, the whole world. And for that to happen, it needs to start from us, so that we can give it to others. And what I also realized is that throughout my life, in my relationships, every time a relationship would end up, whether I ended up or my partner would end it up, it doesn't matter. I would always be playing the role of the victim. And I would always ask myself, why is this happening to me? Why me? And why now? Why, when everything started to be beautiful, and why, when things have started falling in place, this thing happens and everything is broken again, and I'm gonna have to go through the same thing over and over again. In my mind, this is what I was thinking. First of all, playing the victim, and already putting my next relationship to doom. Oh, it's already doomed, because in my mind it is doomed. It's gonna be a failure, because that's how I was thinking about it all the time. Now you ask me, today, for example, I'm not in a relationship. And I'm gonna tell you why I'm not in a relationship. Because today, when I decided to start loving myself first, my boundaries changed. My criteria for a relationship changed. My requirements, my non-negotiables changed. Actually, my non-negotiable started being existing, because before I didn't have a non-negotiable. And what do I mean by non-negotiable? In a relationship, when you go into a relationship and you really know what you want, and you really understand who you are, and because of that you know what you want, and you know what are the things that you will accept and what are the things that are a no for you. These are the non-negotiables, the things that you will never accept from anyone in your life, not only a partner, from anyone in your life. So these non-negotiables, when they start existing, you start having a lot of criteria in choosing the people around you, in accepting, or in choosing the values of the people around you. I'm not going to say the people around you, but you will want to choose those people because they have the certain values that you value in your own life, that you are 100% adamant to have in your own life. Like, you will not accept to live your life without those very specific values, without those very specific characteristics in that person or in the relationship as a whole. And for me, this is why today I don't have a person in my life, because I'm looking for those values. I'm looking for that person who will have a similar... Actually, I'm not looking, to be quite honest. I'm not. Because that person exists, and if he exists, he will come, because this is what's going to happen. Because this is my desire, because that's what I'm thinking of all the time. Like, thinking of the right person with the right characteristics, with the person who will be able to follow through with me. I like to put it in that way. And another reason is because now I understand really what is important to me, and because I know myself now so much, because I love myself so much to understand what I want, to know what I want. I realized what I want. And what I want is to be able to help others, is to be able to support others from my own experience, because I have been through a lot. And this is where my focus is today. And that's why, again, I really don't want to have anyone in my life right now. And that's fine, because that's my choice. So if we go through that journey in the right way, and we figure out what is important to us, coming from our own love for us, we will be able to decide. We will be able to take a very conscious decision of how we want our life to be, of what are the things that we will accept in our lives and what are the things that we will not accept in our life. And this, for me, I mentioned in the post that I'm going to tell you about victimization versus victory. So for me, this is victory. Instead of being a victim, instead of being in that place, that very low place of victimizing myself all the time and thinking that, oh my God, I'm really not, not worth being loved, or not worth being taken care of, or not worth being with. Instead of being here, I'm now on a completely different level, in a completely different place. Because I took a very conscious decision when I understood how love works. I took a very conscious decision that this is what I want to do in my life. I want to be able, that from my experience, to support other people who might be either going through the same thing I went through, or not even realizing what is happening. Like I wasn't at the beginning. I didn't know what was happening with me. And when I figured it out, instead of me being the victim, I became a victorious person. Because now I am doing the one thing that I really choose to do, that I really want to do, that I truly believe I came here to actually do that. To actually help others and be of service to people who require that support, who require that push that I didn't have, by the way. Nobody guided me. I had to go through it myself. I had to figure things out for my own self. And today, if I had someone help me, it would have been way much easier. I would have figured things out way much longer, like long time ago. And I would have been in a probably not a completely different place, because again, I would have realized what I realized already. I would have realized it a little bit earlier, and I would be doing this for even a longer time, because I truly believe that this is what I want to do, and this is what I choose to do. And for someone to become so aware of what they want and to understand really what it means to them and what it could mean to others, being in that place, you're already victorious. Being in that place, you have already crossed like so much to reach to that place. So I just want to make sure that what I covered today, I hope it resonates with you, and I hope it made some kind of sense to you in your own life, and maybe it will be an eye-opener for you to start looking at how your life goes, what are the things that you are going through in your relationships, whether they are with your partner or just a normal relationship with people around you, or even with your own family, with your kids. I mean, now that I mention it with your kids, if I think of my own mom, and I truly believe this, if she okay, I didn't see this coming, but if she was able to love herself the way I love myself today, she would be in a much better place for herself. God bless her, she's still alive. She's great. But she's always playing the victim, and she's always in a very low place for her, in her feelings, in her emotions. And that reflects on everyone. It reflects on everyone around her. And I truly believe if she wasn't that person, if she really was someone who understood what self-love means and started by doing that for herself before having her own kids, she wouldn't have treated us the way she treated us when we were growing up. She wouldn't have been abusive. She wouldn't have been victimizing all the time. She wouldn't have been that person who would make us as kids feel like we are the reason for her misery. So if only at that time my mom was able to go through that journey with herself the same way I did, I probably would be raised up in a completely different way to start with. But then again, we come here because there is a reason for us to be here. There's a journey that we want to take. This is why we decided to come here. And I decided to have her as my mom because this is what I wanted to learn from her. I wanted to learn all of this from her. Maybe not from her, but from trying not to be her. But that's again from her. Me not trying not to be her is exactly learning from her experience, learning from her situation, and not wanting to be in that shoes, in her shoes. So because I did that, and because I went through all of this, and it was a lot to handle when I was a kid, and even when I was a grown-up, until today, because she's still that same person. She did not change. I wish she would, and also change cannot happen if you don't want it to happen. That's the 101 change, right? If you don't want to change, Nothing will make you change, no matter what you do, no matter how high you climb, no matter how much you study, no matter how much you spend on yourself. If you don't want that change will never happen. Like my coach, and I like to think of her as my mentor. I love her. She always uses this proverb, and it's so true. I mean, it's not hers, it's very common, but it's so true. The first time I heard it from her, is you can bring the horse to the water, but you cannot make the horse drink. The horse would want to drink, otherwise you cannot force the horse to drink. That's exactly the same thing about change. You cannot force people to change. Change wants to come from you. Change is something that you would want to feel, that you would want to choose. And if you choose change, there's a beautiful way to go through it. You can do it either the hard way. You can do it the hard way. I did it the hard way. Or you can choose to do it the easy way. And the easy way is figuring it out with someone who can help you. 100%, Marie. Everything is a choice. And we are the boss. When we decide to move forward in our lives instead of looking backwards, and actually not even forward, if we just choose to live the moment, because if we keep on thinking, or this is what the majority of people do, they either think of the past or they keep on dreaming about the future, and they forget to live today. They forget to live the now. I used to be that person. I used to forget to live the now, always either living in my past or always planning for that future that I was like planning today for something that I didn't even know, that I was missing what I was doing today. I was missing my own personal now experience. So instead of doing that, now I'm very aware of what I'm doing today, even if I'm planning for my future, which is what I'm actually doing as well. But I'm doing it in a very aware way. I am doing it by choice. I am doing it through living my now. This is how I'm doing it. I am living my now, and by living my now, which is my current decision, my current choice, I am planning for my future. I know what my future is going to be. I can see it clearly. I can see my future. And what I'm inviting you to today is to be in my shoes, to go through all of this the easy way, instead of having to do it the difficult way, instead of having to figure it out for your own self, and go through all the hurdles that I have been through, and go through all the learnings that I have been through. And I'm sure you're going through your own learnings. We all are. But if I can help you in any way, I would love to. Because when I was going through my own issues, I would have loved having someone by my side guiding me and telling me, no, do it this way, or think about it in a different way, or let's try that side instead of that side, or let's try this idea instead of this idea. So if I had that person in my life, things would have been much easier for me, much faster. And I focus on much faster, because the easier will come. It's the speed that makes the difference. It's wanting to do it fast and easy. And by easy, I mean having someone support you along the way, instead of you having to go through it on your own, instead of you having to figuring things out by yourself. If someone can help you shed the light on the things that you want to work on, that you would like will make a difference for you if you work on them, this is where I come in. This is where I know I can help, because I have done it all. I have been through that journey. I know where are the things that we want to look at. to fix, because like I said, everything is fixable. And if you are going through this on your own, you will be doing it in a certain way. And if you are going through this with somebody's help, it will be in a much easier, much softer, much faster way. So today, this is my invitation to you. My invitation to you is, if you are at any point in your life today thinking about yesterday, that this is how your life is, okay, like my life was, and if you relate or resonate with what I'm saying, and you know that you are in that place and you want to move from that place and become that person, that champion that I always say, everyone is a champion. Everyone has that champion within them. The only thing is, we want to take that champion from inside and just put it out and release it to the world. We all have that champion. So my invitation to you is, if you are in my shoes 5 years, 4 years ago, even longer, I invite you to let me know. Let me know that you are in that shoes, and maybe I can help you along that way. And if this is your choice, I will be very happy to get in touch with you. We can have a one-on-one talk so I can understand where you are in that journey that I have been through a while back, and how I can possibly help you. We can discuss, we can talk, I can give you a lot of hints, and then we will see if this is a good match, if I'm able to help you and you are that person who really wants to change and really wants to be helped, and then we can really work together. I will be like the happiest person on earth to be able to do that for you. So if this is what you want today, I want you to write support in the comments in big letters, and I will make sure I will reach out to you, and I'll speak to you on Messenger, and or possibly I can send you an email, we can get in touch, and eventually we can get on a call and talk about this and find out where you are and how I can support you. So this is my invitation to you. Write support in the comments below if this is what you want and if you're ready for that change, and I'm going to be reaching out to you soon after I see that. And with that, I hope that I was able to shed some light on the things that we are going through in our lives, all of us. And I hope that I was able to give you some, tips on how you can move forward, on how you can be a little bit more aware of your own life and your own journey and your own inner self. And with that, I say to you, ciao, ciao, and I'll see you next week. Ciao, ciao.